Hello and welcome to the Daring and Mighty podcast with me, your host, Katie Phillips. And this podcast is for high achieving midlife women who need a safe space to come home to themselves. And that's the space I created in my 5-day event, Awakened and Aligned. I am just off the back of finishing that event. It was beautiful, the women that came together. This group of women who just know they're on the cusp of their next chapter. And they're in that kind of messy middle space of moving away from the identity that they were and moving into the identity that they know they need to claim and unapologetically own in order to create the life that they want to step into now. And during this 5 days, in addition to daily meditations and journaling prompts and questions, I hosted an evening live Q&A session with me. So it's kind of a little bit of coaching, lots of answering of questions. And the whole thing was recorded. And because it was a public event, I thought, you know what, there's a lot of really fantastic, valuable material here that will help so many women that didn't get to attend Awakened and Aligned last week. So I have compiled 5 days worth of Q&As. I've taken out the most compelling and valuable questions and answers to share with you. So this is a long podcast. I think it's going to be about 3 hours. Of course, you're not going to listen to it all in one go. You're probably going to come backwards and forwards to it and listen in little chunks. I'm sharing all of it because it is just so valuable. And if you are a woman who's at a crossroads in her life and who knows she's evolving to step into her next chapter, I really think that a lot of the typical things that can come up for a woman get addressed in these Q&As. So I invite you to listen. We cover all sorts of things from feminine and masculine energy dynamics, from growing while taking care of your nervous system, attachment styles, boundaries with your family, anger alchemy, self-worth, the inner critic, navigating identity shifts, whether that's around divorce or motherhood or menopause or retirement, moving from overthinking into embodied self-trust. I mean, we really do talk about it all. At the root of everything is up-leveling your identity and doing that from a place of deep self-compassion and self-love. I have made the decision to not show the video of these Q&As. So while this was a public event, I felt more in integrity to give more anonymity to the women who were asking the questions. So you'll just be hearing their voices. In some cases, you won't even hear their names. And I trust that you will receive exactly what you needed to hear. As always, if this resonates with you, I would love to hear about it. Please do leave comments. If you haven't yet rated the podcast, please can you do that? And feel free to share it with other women in your life who you know could benefit from this important work. Okay, so let's dive in. It's a long one. It's a juicy one. There's so much value here for you, and I hope you receive exactly what you need to hear today. All right, all my love. So my first question was from Amanda. And she said, I used to be completely in my masculine, always doing and being there for others and not myself. And after a health breakdown, God's way of making me slow down, I've now switched almost entirely to my feminine to really be able to receive and love myself just as I am. I'm now ready to let my masculine energy back in, as I'd really like to build my horse bodywork business so I can bring that healing to as many horses and their guardians who would like the help and are ready to receive it. My question is, what is the best way to start bringing these empowered masculine energies back in? And this is a great question, and it just proves that not everybody in this space is struggling with only being in their masculine and not able to get into their feminine. I relate in some ways to this because I remember when I became conscious of the fact that I was very much operating from my masculine, whether it was disempowered masculine or empowered, either or, I was just in action. And then the disempowered piece was the overdrive action of having to prove myself, prove my worth, to feel significant, to feel lovable, to feel safe in the world. When I realized that, I did a full pendulum swing into my feminine. It was like, I kind of made the masculine bad. I didn't really understand yet that I needed my masculine. I just saw it as this part of me that was driving me so hard. And I just didn't want to do that anymore. So I moved into my feminine. And actually, I remember very specifically, I did an experiment of not allowing myself to do anything. It was really weird and really quite hard. I was like, you can't do anything, just do nothing. And I'd be like, oh, like even if I wanted to go to yoga, I'd have to check in with myself. Am I going to yoga to tick something off the list or like prove that I'm healthy or or something like, especially as a coach, like does it look good that I'm going to yoga? Or was I going to yoga because it was just genuinely what my body needed? It just felt, there was no ego, there was no shoulding, there was no disempowered masculine around it. And I would like go sunbathe in the garden naked. I didn't know what else to do. I was like, sun's out. I'll just go get a full body tan then. Hope the neighbors don't see. Like but I swung right into my feminine for quite a long time. And it was a confusing place to be because it felt lovely being over there. After a while, at first, it was deeply uncomfortable because the habit to be busy and doing is so strong. But once I got into the rhythm of it and I started to get used to this idea of only doing what felt good for me, I really liked being there. But then, oh, I had a mortgage to pay. Oh, kind of need the money coming in. How are we going to make that happen? And because my relationship to my masculine had been so dysfunctional, mean, I didn't trust it. I didn't want to go back there. And so I'm relating to Amanda's question because she's happily over in her feminine. It's a very lovely place to be. And in our feminine, we do practice learning to receive, as she said in her message, learning to love ourselves, feel our feelings. This is all very important in terms of our relationship to ourselves and our magnetism. And the thing is, she was put into a health breakdown. And although she hasn't specifically said it, I wouldn't be surprised that what put her into the health breakdown was her disempowered masculine. So, why would she want to go back into masculine again when that part of her broke down her health? I think I might have said this in the masterclass yesterday, but I know for me, when my disempowered masculine comes up, and this is how it was for me as a normal for so many years, it was like someone had a whip at my back of like, you're just not going hard enough, you're not trying hard enough, you're good, you're failing, you're not good enough, keep going. Why would you want to go back to that if that's the relationship, right? And to start a business where yes, you absolutely need your masculine, to allow yourself to start taking action, you have to repair your relationship with your own inner masculine. So there's going to be healing work around that. And that healing work, that's what I do with women, is that healing work. And we probably want to look at what was the reason for that disempowered masculine behavior that led her into the health breakdown. What was that about? Who was the voice? Like for me, when I was in my disempowered masculine, I could say it was my dad's voice. It was my teachers' voices. It was society's voices of you got to be a good girl. I was an A+ student. I mean, maybe behind the scenes, I was a little cheeky, but I was an A+ student. I was a good girl. It freaked me out not to get good grades. Like, who was I if I didn't have good grades? And it was, yeah, society, dad, conditioning. And that had to be healed. So we have to take a look at where is this disempowered behavior come from? And we have to do our healing work around that. And then we have to learn to create a new healthy relationship with our masculine. And that is a journey. And it's a journey, and I remember it for myself so well. And I remember the day the light bulb went, and it was through coaching. It was through working with a coach. It was through having some therapy as well earlier on. And I got to a place of realizing there was a part of me, my empowered masculine, that loved me so much, that cared for me so much, that really wanted the desires of my heart to happen, and it was going to make them happen. But it wasn't going to do it in an overdrive, forceful, to my own detriment way. When I realized there was this part of me, it was so humbling and so beautiful, and it changed everything, that I could take action and not basically die in the process. And then when I shifted that dynamic internally, the external starts to change. So that's when I started dating cool guys. I went from dating guys that weren't trustworthy, that I could go into all the things, but they had their own problems and addictions and things. I stopped that pattern of dating men that didn't really have my back and didn't really respect me, didn't unconditionally love me, to meeting guys that did. And I dated a couple of guys before I met James that they weren't my guy, but each one reflected back to me how I'd improved my relationship with my own inner masculine. So to answer Amanda's question, she's saying, what's the best way to start bringing those empowered masculine energies back in? Step one is recognizing it makes sense that you don't want to go there because you couldn't trust that part of you. And step two is healing that part of you that hasn't had your back, that has been forcing you and pushing you and driving you and hurting you. And there's a whole process around that healing. It starts with awareness. We move into emotional expression, feeling our feelings around that experience and how it's impacted our life for so long. And then forgiveness of ourselves, that I did that to myself for so long. Forgiveness of where it came from. It's no one's fault. Conditioning. We're all conditioned. We're all just humans trying to do our best. But it's a forgiveness process. And then choosing, how do I desire to relate to my masculine? Like in the work of empowered feminine confidence, we start with desire always. Any question you have for me this week, just ask yourself, what do I want? If you start there, what do I actually desire? Well, how do you desire to relate to that part of you? First and foremost, what would that look like for you? What would change? What else do I want to say about that?
Katie, while you're thinking about that, that's the part in the masterclass that like really you said something about you were talking to your own masculine energy. That like I've never thought about that ever in that way. And like I do that with my husband, and like we have this really beautiful relationship, but that's an external masculine feminine energy. And I thought that was the neatest thing, that you're like, how can I support you? Like you're masculine, how can I support you in this feminine desire? Like that was just such a beautiful, I was like, oh my gosh, like that was the aha for me today
I
listening to that.
I just got chills down my legs as you said that, because that almost reminds me, not almost, that does remind me of that moment where I realized for myself, oh my gosh, there's a part of me that really wants to help me,
Right.
not hurt me and push me. There is actually, I've got this part of me that exists. It's just been just years of conditioning slapped on it. And because of that conditioning, and for me, I can only speak for me, and I see this in most of my clients, it's a lot of external masculine that has caused her to go into disempowered masculine behavior. It is our uh, I mean, we have a wounded masculine society, right? Most of our leaders are operating from the disempowered masculine. It's horribly toxic. And so we've learned to relate to the masculine externally in a really toxic, disempowered way. We don't trust it. Like, who trusts their government? Who trusts our financial systems? Who trusts the structures around us? We kind of don't. I don't, most of the women that are attracted into my world and my work don't trust men. And that's not the men's fault. There's a lot of really good men out there. And that's something really important for single women to remember. There's really, really, really good men out there. But those good men also have suffered with the toxic patriarchal society that we have all grown up in, right? So we all, men and women, all of society, have to heal this piece that Amanda's asking about. Because it makes sense. Why would I want to be in my masculine when it is so toxic, mean, forceful, aggressive, shaming, right? All those things. So, as well as the healing piece, we want to get into desire. How do I want to relate to that part of me? What could that look like? And then practice. So all I can say is practice, 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 practice. It's why being in communities like this is so important, because we're practicing it all the time, where we continue the conversation, real life scenarios come up, we practice in the confines of those real life scenarios. Because it is knee jerk to do it the way we've always done it. And like I was saying on that masterclass, it can also feel really cozy and comfortable to do it the way we've always done it. Doesn't make it good for us. Okay, I'm going to move on to Hester's question. After so many years of having to be strong, how do I relax and become soft again? Okay, the exact flip question. I got divorced 2 years ago and I'm a single mom of a 7-year-old boy. That was me. That was me for a long time. I'm very grateful and happy for my life and everything that I managed to do. Yeah, it's pretty amazing as a single mom what we do, what we achieve. Yeah, and I'm glad that you're recognizing that. She says, but I find it so hard these days to show myself to the world, especially men. I wonder why, after what we just talked about. And to have confidence in my femininity. Yeah. Is it safe to be in your feminine, I wonder? Like, what's the conditioning around that, about being a woman, about being feminine, around receiving pleasure? She says, it's like I forgot what it's like to be a woman, how to receive and how to experience pleasure. How do I get to that point where I feel safe enough to just be and feel instead of overthinking and being in control? So we're kind of doing the flip here. Hester's not trusting the feminine because it doesn't feel safe, because it, like we talked about in the masterclass, it looks like nothing's getting achieved. It's not demonstrable. You can't tick it off your list. But as we come to know, some of you might have already experienced this. I will speak from absolute as stand as an example and a role model for this. When we get into the practice of being in our feminine, we realize how potent and productive and magnetic it is. The way women have come to me and joined my community for this 5-day reset has been a miracle, and I have done an eighth of the work that I historically used to do when I put on 5-day events. It's energetics. So to answer Hester's question, what could she do? I would start with doing a write and burn ritual. Write about what isn't serving you. So for Hester, there will be, she's saying she's finding it difficult to, she's forgotten what it's like to be a woman, she's forgotten how to receive, and she's forgotten how to experience pleasure. So how does that feel? Write about it. Write what you're fed up with. Write about what you don't want anymore. Be really, really clear what you want to let go of. Be angry about it, get upset about it. Think of the impact that's had on your life, all the areas, how it's really made you feel, and then burn that writing. It sounds so basic. It's so good. It's so healing. And if you're into astrology, the best time to do a write and burn is on the full moon, because the way it works is after the full moon, obviously the moon, is it waxes or wanes? I always get the word wrong, but it gets smaller, right? And as the moon gets smaller, it sort of starts to disappear, what's happening is what you have released is being let go. It's disappearing. So the idea is on a full moon, we do a write and burn. On a new moon, when it's just a little sliver, we write our intentions and visions so that they can come into the fullness of fruition. So start with a write and burn, because there's a lot of energy there that I can feel as I read your question that wants some attention and wants release. And let the emotion come. And then, as I was saying before, set the intention and write about what you do want. What do you want? You know what you don't want. You're clear on what you've forgotten around being a woman and your femininity and so on. So what do you want? How do you want to feel? Get really clear on that. Takes a little bit of brain power, actually, to decide what you want. But your soul does know. And then practice those feminine practices that we touched on our call last night. So getting into your body is so key. It sounds so basic, but energetically it shifts so much. So yoga, running, stretching, hiking, swimming, self-pleasure. It's all getting you into your body, connected to your body. It's a practice. There's also probably, and I would say you'll want to bring in a coach or a therapist. There is some healing work probably to be done around your relationship to the feminine. Like, I wonder if it even feels safe for you to be a woman. I wonder if it feels safe for you to receive pleasure. And the control piece that's going on could be a protective mechanism. Like, if I'm in control, if I'm in charge, if I'm busy, if I'm doing, I don't have to receive from a man. I don't have to put myself at risk of being judged for my femininity or whatever your thing is. And I don't know what Hester's thing is, but there's very likely some healing work to be done around her relationship to the feminine and what it means to be a woman. I mean, when I've run coaching groups before, that's a whole module. What it means to be a woman. What do you believe about being a woman? What do you believe about being a wife? What do you believe about being a mother? What are your beliefs? How is that serving you or not? Because what we're believing about being a woman and our role, the roles that we play, is impacting our experience of that and what we are magnetizing or repelling. Okay, so the next question is from M. Any idea of where to start to build a good relationship with yourself? The negative voice in my head feels so true that it's hard to find a voice that contradicts it. I wonder if anybody else can relate to that, where that negative voice feels like the voice of God. It is fact, it's true. And when you're in that place, it's really hard to find a voice that contradicts it. I will say, speaking from experience, that it is possible. I know 100%. I will put my life on it. And I've seen it in my clients that you can literally, I mean, I jokingly say you can brainwash yourself. Like, you literally can rewire your mind. So we go back to desire again. Step one is to write about how you desire to feel. Like, any idea where to start to build a good relationship with yourself? Well, what would that look like for you? Like, and I'm not saying that M is lazy, not at all. And I know I can be lazy. I know my clients can be lazy. It's very easy to ask the question, where do I start to build a good relationship with myself? It's such a freaking massive question. Just like I always let myself off the hook with that huge question and do nothing. Well, what do you want? Don't be lazy. Write about it. And it's not going to be easy to start with. It might be hard to write the first sentence. It really might be like, oh, giving birth. But it's in you, it's within you. And the reason this week for starting each day with just a short guided meditation of that stillness and practicing that softness and developing that safety inside your own body, just that practice energetically puts you into a receiving state and has you start to hear, what do I want? So if you had a good relationship with yourself, what would that look like? What would change in your life? How would it feel? And write about that. Another thing you can do is write a letter from love. Elizabeth Gilbert has an entire Substack channel on exactly this. She teaches about writing from love, like what would love say? And it's so beautiful what comes out. So if you can remove yourself, and really, my sense is whenever I've done this, written what would love say, I feel like I'm writing from my higher self, like my soul self, because I believe my soul higher self is pure love. And so when I'm writing from there, there's just, it's almost like, for me personally, it's very tender writing. It's very maternal, probably because I had that relationship with my mom. She was very maternal and soft and loving. And so I use that voice with myself. So it's almost like a parental voice. If you've had positive, loving parental role modeling, that's easy. If you haven't, that's not what it's going to be. But asking, what would love say? So have it outside of yourself and this energy of love. What would love say about the kind of relationship that you want to have with yourself? I'd say start there. And final question was from Emma. And Emma has said, I've lost my desire for relationships. It's all I used to think about. I remember this. Emma and I worked together a few years ago when she was single, and I am now discovering that she's in a relationship, which is great. And then that ups the ante, right? It's like, I just want to be with someone. And then you meet the person, and then all your other shit comes up that you didn't realize was there. And then it's like, next level you. Next evolution. And this is where Emma is at. She's in her next evolution. And I relate so much to what she's sharing. So she says, it's all I used to think about was her desire for relationships. I focused on this massively when I last worked with you, Katie. Now I am in a relationship and gradually my sparkle inside has gone. My default has always been to chase and definitely a more masculine energy. I don't need to chase anymore, and instead I find myself more in an avoidant space. Now I wonder if this is because I'm struggling with my empowered feminine. Any thoughts on this? So without talking to Emma, she's probably got like an avoidance attachment pattern going on where it's the tendency can be to not really want to be vulnerable, not really want to share your feelings, not really want to have the conversations and the intimacy and the connection with this other human being can bring stuff up that perhaps you didn't know was there until you're in a relationship. And so, to protect yourself from having to feel the feelings that are wanting to come to the surface, we avoid, we push away. And I relate. That's my pattern too. So, I wanted to meet someone for years, and now I'm with a really healthy man in a very healthy relationship. And there's so much intimacy, it requires so much vulnerability. I say this was us at the beginning. Occasionally it still comes up for me, but in the first couple of years with James, I was like, what? I have an available man? I'd never had a relationship with an available man before. There was something about them that wasn't available, whether there was an addiction piece or whether there was a codependency piece or there was always something that on some level emotionally they weren't actually available to me. Suddenly I had an available person, brought everything up. And so if you're an avoidant attached person, because there's different patterns of attachment, whether I don't know if you know this, and I won't go into a masterclass on it, but we're either securely attached, avoidant attached, anxious attached, or fearful avoidant, which is a mix of anxious and avoidance. I think that's me. Actually, I can be a bit of both. So awareness is the first step to change. So just knowing what your attachment style is, and by the way, there's a ton of books on it. Knowing your attachment style is a very, very good first step. Getting to know that about yourself, understanding what your triggers are, understanding what typical behavioral habits are around that. And for Emma, with the avoidance, there's probably this need to withdraw or just shut down or, yeah, kind of disappear. And we interpret our partner as perhaps trying to control us, or we can, maybe they're trying to manipulate us, maybe they're criticizing us or they're putting us under some kind of pressure. We can go into judgment and then we can make them wrong and then we can completely ruin the relationship and we get to leave. It's the ultimate. It's the ultimate avoidance is I'm going to make you wrong, so I go. Then I'm in total avoidance. I don't have to deal with all of these uncomfortable feelings that are coming up for me. So there's healing around understanding why what comes up is coming up. Like for me, there was a piece around my father's abandonment of me as a little girl and through my teen years and early 20s. Those abandonment experiences had me become avoidant and anxiously attached. I was expecting my man to leave, to go away in some, whether it's emotionally or physically. So to make sure I don't get hurt, I can point the finger and see everything that's wrong with them and make them the problem. And I can end the relationship and get out of there. Then I don't have to feel the horrible feelings of like I'm going to get abandoned again and my little girl, my inner child inside freaking out. Because often that's actually what's happened when we find ourselves in an intimate relationship. Our inner child, depending on our life experiences, can start to freak out. And so we have to learn how to relate to that part of ourselves. This is the inner child healing I do with a lot of my clients. We have to learn to relate to that part of ourselves and soothe that part of ourselves, understand what triggers that part of ourselves so that when we are triggered, adult to adult, husband to wife, boyfriend to girlfriend, whatever, we see what's happening and we have to learn to find the vocabulary to explain it to our partner. It takes tons of vulnerability and goes against everything we've learned to do in relationship to be safe. So when we've got this going on, we have to learn how to regulate our nervous system. We have to understand why our inner child, because it's usually the inner child, is freaking out, and how to nurture her, care for her. We need to learn how to express ourselves in a healthy way with our partner. So practice being vulnerable. And I know with me and James in the very beginning, and sometimes I still have to do this, I will begin a conversation with, I need to talk to you about how I'm feeling and I don't know how to say it. Bear with me. Like, I don't even know where to begin with this. And I'm a pretty like evolved, like fair way down my healing path. And I have to say, I don't know how to talk about this. I don't know how to find the words. I don't know how to deal with the feelings. And then, because he's receptive and listens, because he's a good man, the words will slowly come. but it will be awkward before it's elegant when we're not used to communicating in that way. And I made a note here about rewriting the belief that closeness equals loss of freedom. Because I remember when I was a single woman, one of my beliefs that were blocking me to calling in a healthy relationship was that I would lose my freedom. Because there was something about being a single mom was brilliant. Like, I was in charge of me, I was in charge of my life, no one got to have a say or an opinion. What Katie wanted is what Katie got. And no one was making me feel anxious. No one was making my inner child kick off and want to be avoidant. It was easy to love myself when I was single. It was easy to be pretty emotionally balanced when I was single. Like, really easy. Then I got in a relationship. Oh, hello. How do I love how do I love that wounded inner child part of me that is freaking out about this intimacy, that doesn't feel safe with a man? Like, realizing that. So yeah, the freedom piece, that was a big piece for me, was rewiring that belief. Can I have a relationship that's healthy and feel free? And deciding I was going to meet a man that not allowed me, but where we had this mutual experience that I had freedom and was in a relationship. And this is what we've created. But I had to decide that. And this is the thing, it goes back again to desire. What do you want? How do you want your relationship to be? And choosing that. So there's so much more I could say about attachment patterns, but I hope, Emma, that that is helpful for now.
So I'm going to try to keep this really high level, I guess. I am a person who was diagnosed with ADHD late in life, late 30s. And as such, I grew up with a lot of fleeting hobbies and a lot of half completed projects and a lot of feelings of, why is this so hard for me and not for other people, right? And so, because of that, I feel like my inner dude became kind of like a military sergeant. In order to complete this, we have to do A, B, C, D, and you have to do it in order. Um, so, I'm actually a wee bit terrified of swinging more into my feminine. I am afraid that if I let go of that militant approach, that I'm going to fall back into complete chaos. Nothing ever gets done. Um, if I don't keep up this, very strict way of life, then it's all going to fall apart. So I guess my question is like, how do I just begin to trust that, my feminine is not going to drop me and that I'm going to be okay if I do decide to let go of that military type stance.
So what if you could have both?
That's
What
the other thing is I'm very this or that, black or white. Yeah, it's really hard for me to find a middle ground.
and what if it was just a choice?
That would be probably life changing for me to just be able to say to myself, I'm just going to do it, I guess.
Well, yeah, I mean, what would it by the way, I really hear you, and I've had
Mhm.
many ADHD diagnosed clients. And what if you so here's the thing, like, what if well, I want to just drop this question for you and let it percolate. Like, let yourself marinate in this idea of what if, just those words open up the energy. What if I could take action in a way that felt good for me? So that's not militant, that's not on overdrive, that's not so mean. What did you say? The dude in me, but you use some other language. How would you describe your masculine right now?
I would say he's very like military sergeant,
Military.
very
That was
strict.
yeah. That's what you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's not working. doesn't sound great. How would you like, because you've given it a persona, which is really lovely, actually, quite cool. So if your masculine is a military sergeant now, what would the new persona be?
I think I would like for him to be more of a guide where he ushers me through whatever it is that I'm doing. Um, but gives me some boundaries so that I can kind of bounce off one way or the other, but still have that structure without having everything down to the letter.
How does it feel for you to say that?
I think that's very good. Like that feels good in my heart, feels good in my chest. Because I do like order, and I do, again, as a single parent, like, hello, story of my life, right? Um, so yeah, I definitely like the order and the way of doing things, but I just wish it wasn't so exhausting all the time.
Did you want to give this new masculine guide a name? You don't have to come up with it right now, but
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I would like to. Yeah,
I mean, I feel like you know what you need, you know what would feel good for you. And I hear you on the boundaries, the structure, plans. It's all needed. Whether we have ADHD or not, to get stuff done, this is what's required. And actually, the planning and the boundaries and everything, that's what an empowered woman does. An empowered woman plans. She figures things out. She's just not, oh, the universe will guide me. Like, there's an element of that. I believe the universe is guiding me. Absolutely. And I'm an empowered woman. I need a plan. I need
yeah,
boundaries. I need structure, especially when we're talking about business.
yeah,
Often when we're talking about parenting young children, but it's the and I can play, and we can have some spontaneity, and right, but it's
yeah.
both. And
Okay.
you're very clear on the persona of your disempowered masculine. So my
Mhm.
invitation to you is, who is your empowered masculine?
Okay. Kind of focus on him more. Try to figure him out.
Let's call it an archetype. Like, let that archetype through. Let it
Okay.
let it take over.
Okay.
Say, thank you, Sergeant, whatever, for the role you've played up until now. I'm relieving
Okay.
you of your post.
Okay.
You are no longer required.
All right. This sounds great.
You could even do a write and burn around that. You could write about how, like, that's not served you.
Okay.
You can
Love
even do
that.
a forgiveness practice around it, because it's not that part of you, that wounded part of you. Wasn't, I'm saying his, it's weird saying his, isn't it? But just for the purposes of this conversation, it's not his fault that he's behaved like that. That's that's what was role modeled. That's what was learned. That's what society has shown. No one showed you another way. So the
Yeah.
self-forgiveness piece of that part of you that has been running you into the ground. I feel like the Ho'oponopono prayer is coming to mind. Do you know what that is? The Hawaiian
Mm-mm.
forgiveness prayer? Okay, I know we have to wrap up, but it's in my book. If you have my book, I write
Okay.
about it. But Ho'oponopono, the Hawaiian forgiveness prayer, is 4 lines said in any order. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And
Okay.
you can apply that to that part of you. So I'm sorry that you have felt the need to control in the way that you have for so many years. I'm sorry it's the only way you've been shown how to show up and lead my life. Please forgive me for allowing that to be your only experience. Thank you for doing your best. Thank you for trying your best with what you knew to make my goals and dreams and desires come true. I love you.
Hmm.
I love you. So it's like bringing that forgiveness piece to that part of you by way of saying, thank you, and I don't need you anymore. And then I'm inviting in, and then you can go into vision writing of like this new guide that's going to support you and love you and take care of you.
Awesome. Okay. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Helpful?
Yes, definitely.
But I'm going to
Thank
challenge you,
you.
Emily. You can't just listen to me say all of that and not do it.
I'm going to do it.
Change doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Right? It sounds all very nice, but it's really powerful. It's really, really powerful, energetic work, and it will shift things for you.
Okay. I will do it. I promise.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cool. Lisa says, I know what I need to do often when something comes up. I feel into it and I let the emotion be and then track out the steps I need to action, whatever it is that needs working out. My thing that I want to work on is lessening the charge that comes with it. I feel like I've improved. I would have had a meltdown for days years ago. It hits with less impact, and I can reassure myself and ground easier these days so the impact is reduced. Will I always have this charge around things, some even with tools to regulate? Well, first, just a bit of background. I know Lisa. I had a membership for 5 years called the Love Lounge, and she was a part of that. And I witnessed her evolve emotionally. So I just want to celebrate you and congratulate you that you're not having the meltdowns that last for days. That's great, isn't it? We don't want that. And a charge, that's a really powerful word, isn't it? A charge is energy. So when we feel a charge, there is an energy on something. And so it's clear that there's certain things, and without talking to you, I don't know what they are, but there's certain things going on for you that are looking to be seen, or that are looking to be integrated or released or forgiven, but there's an energy on it. So let's not judge it. Let's not make it wrong. It is what it is. And, I have a sense from you when you say charge, there's like anger, is what I'm sensing from that word. And it might be righteous anger, right? You might have something that you are legitimately angry about. And we're allowed to be angry about anything. Anger isn't a bad or wrong emotion, it's just an emotion. And are you giving it the attention it's looking for? When we have a charge on something, it is showing us something about ourselves. We could blame, we could make it about everybody else. And if it's affecting us, that's for us to deal with, right? Choose not to be around that person if that's what's required, to not be affected by them. Or do your healing work so that you don't experience the charge. Now, the other thing I want to say is, because I'm sensing, and I don't know because we're not speaking, but because I'm sensing that the charge is anger, I want to invite you to remember that anger is often, not always, it's often a secondary emotion. So remembering that what's probably going on first and foremost is there's a vulnerability there. There might be a sadness there. There could be a grief. There could be a feeling of, I'm feeling trodden on or walked over and it hurts. And then the anger sparks up to protect us from having to feel those more vulnerable feelings, right? So just paying attention to that. And there's a self-exploration here. Like, I know you don't want to feel the charge. None of us want to feel the charge. We don't like getting angry. But instead of feeling a victim to it, or instead of even going down the rabbit hole, which you semi are in this question of like, is this going to happen forever? Is this my experience forever? Or can I actually heal this for good? It's not really a helpful question. A more powerful, helpful question is, what is this showing me? So step back into your power. Like, you take it on, rather than the charge owning you and you feeling victim and like this is going to go on forever and how much more work do I have to do to heal that energy. How about, what is this showing me? What is here for me? Because in the acknowledgement of what is there for you, and in the work that will then come, whether it's forgiveness work, whether it's emotional release work, whether it's setting stronger boundaries, whatever the work is, which I couldn't begin to say for you because we're not in conversation or coaching, through moving through the work and coming out the other side, you get to evolve. And if we really pull back and go macro, that's what I believe, take it or leave it, we're here to do on this planet. I really believe our souls have come here to learn and evolve and grow. So you're doing the work of the divine. It's what we're here for. So move yourself into a more powerful space as you look at what you're currently perceiving to be a problem. Does that make sense? That's where I would take it. And, you know, especially if underneath the anger is sadness or grief or whatever the more vulnerable feeling is, right there is an invitation to give yourself so much compassion and kindness and gentleness. I mean, if the charge is that you're not receiving that from someone else and that's what's sparking you, then could you give that to yourself? How could you take care of yourself? So often that's what's happening. Next question was from Ems. She said, today chatting, I vocalized the voices in my head trying to sabotage the part of me that wants to help me. Hence, I'm struggling to believe my affirmations and almost feel dishonest or one step ahead of myself in an affirmation. For example, I'm ready to let go of X. And then I think she's saying the voice then goes, no, you're not. You're setting yourself up for failure. How can I get rid of these very loud, obnoxious, self-deprecating thoughts to free the me trying to help me? Okay, so this is a brilliant question, because when it comes to creating affirmations, we have to write them so that we do actually, on some level, believe them. If we write something that seems so fantastical, we are going to have, like, it's like a tennis match in our head. We're going to, and I'll use the example of money because I find, I mean, for me, doing money affirmations over the years, anything to do with finances and cash flow, that kind of thing, you know, so often I write an affirmation. And because I remember doing remember when we used to get audio tapes? You'd buy like a tape set from the personal development guru and you'd play the tapes in your car. So I had this tape set and I can't remember who the teacher was, but the affirmation, as I was driving, I'd be saying this affirmation, I am a multi-millionaire. And I think he was telling me to like tap my head at the same time or something, or tap a part of my body. I am a multi-millionaire. It wasn't tapping or EFT. Anyway, so I'm driving, I am a multi-millionaire. And then I had the voice in my head going, no, you're not. And I'm driving my completely dilapidated old car. I remember it so well. It used to flood. I had to put towels on the seats every time it rained because it would flood and it was just awful. And I'm driving this car going, I am a multi-millionaire. No, you're not. I'm a multi-millionaire. No, you're fucking not. What the hell? Like, and it was this tennis match backwards and forwards. So unhelpful. It made the idea of being wealthy seem so impossible and so far away that the affirmation was doing way more harm than good. A more helpful affirmation in that particular situation, because I was so far from being a multimillionaire. I mean, I was barely able to pay rent each month. So every day I am getting better at managing my money. would have been a helpful affirmation. That would have been true and real. It would have been still something to aspire to, because at that time I wasn't good at managing my money. Right? So it's about finding affirmations that are beyond your current reality, but not so far beyond that they just seem ridiculous. And then you have that tennis match going on in your head. The great thing is we can change our affirmations over time. They can evolve as we evolve. In my very early days of personal growth, something I didn't believe was that I am enough. Now I know it. But in the early days, I didn't believe I was enough. And so I wrote the affirmation, I am enough. Later on down the years, I wrote, I am so much more than enough, because that sounded more juicy and fun to me. But I am enough. Now, when I wrote that, it seemed almost impossible that I could get to a place in my life that I really believed that. And there was something deep inside me that knew it to be true. And my humanness needed to catch up. So the affirmation, I am enough, didn't set off the tennis match of, no, you're not. You're an idiot. You're not worthy. Like I didn't have the tennis match, because actually there was a deep truth buried deep inside me that knew it. I just had to catch up to it. And I was willing and able to. So I hope those examples will help all of you to create affirmations that feel really good for you, that inspire you, that excite you, and don't have that tennis match going on. Emma asked the next question. I have already felt a shift since starting this 5-day experience. I want to move into my next chapter. I know myself though, and I forget. My menopause brain kicks in and I forget what I've forgotten. I forget to even do affirmations. I find I slip into old ways easily. Is there anything that you've done to help you keep going on this journey of self-improvement? I think in some ways I've felt stuck, and it's easier to roll backwards or remain still than move forwards. Do you have any tips other than daily affirmations on how to keep moving forward? It really goes back to what we were actually just saying at the beginning, community. Like, it's so easy to forget. I consider myself very lucky that I work in the personal development space, because I'm thinking about all of this all the time. I'm reminding other people about it all the time. So I'm very, very lucky, because it's front of mind for me every day. And I create communities where this is what we're doing. So if you don't work in the personal growth space, and I know that Emma doesn't, and I know that probably where she works, there's probably, I know it's very male oriented, and it's probably not that conscious. And that's hard. So remembering to do your affirmations, and remembering to remember that you are powerful and life is for you and anything is possible, and all of these wonderful affirmations we're coming up with today, that goes out the window. It's really difficult. So, I mean, we can support ourselves. I mean, for me, before I was working in personal growth space, I would write all of my affirmations. I would write my vision for my future, and I would record it into my phone, and I would listen to it while I was brushing my teeth, or I'd listen to it while I was going to sleep at night. I had a fire in my belly. So while I wasn't in community, and when I didn't have the money to be in community, it was on me. Now, as a coach, I can't put that fire in somebody else's belly. We have to, like, how bad does it need to get, or how much do we need to want it before our fire gets lit? Yes, Debs?
I use affirmation cards,
Great.
and these ones, I am blessed, I release. They're really simple ways to prompt to keep you, and they're so beautiful, so many beautiful colors.
Yes.
That enables you to stay tuned in to your divine self. Yeah,
And I'm guessing you've got them somewhere that you see them all the time.
absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Because if you have them in a drawer, you're going to forget. right?
Have them on the
Yeah.
table. Have them
Have them.
plastered all over your kitchen cupboards.
Yes. So in the early days, because I was exploring what I was going to do with my life, I knew I wanted to move away from corporate. I had no idea I wanted to become a coach yet, but I thought I always wanted to be an artist. So I started creating art, and my art became affirmations. And then I had this whole product range of affirmation artwork. And I would put these affirmations, they were all around my house. I had art on my actual walls, and I was selling it. And some of those affirmations were, I am enough. But we need to put things around us, post-it notes, so simple, but write your affirmations, put them on post-it notes and stick them around the house. Buy a cheap lipstick and write it on your mirror. Write them on your mirror. You can't ignore it. On my mirror in lipstick at the moment, it says squat because it's reminding me I'm trying to set new habits, that when I'm brushing my teeth, I have to do my squats. And I ran out of lipstick, but what I need to also add is like tricep dips. Every time I've been to the bathroom, I have to do some tricep dips on the edge of the bath. So I'm just trying to keep strong. But I have to write it there because I forget. Because the habit is I go into the restroom, use the loo, and go out again. I have to create the new habit. So we have to help ourselves, and putting the fire in your belly to help yourself is on you. But that's why 5-day events like this are really helpful, because it's like activates us again, right? I'm going to get back on it. I've forgotten, I haven't been doing what I do, and I'm going to get back on it. And then just community. I'm going to be making an announcement tomorrow night. Of course I am. You know it's coming, of a community that I'm creating, and I'm going to be inviting you all into it. Right there. I mean, that's going to be a community for a year. It's a year's commitment, but oh my God, the fire and the energy that's going to be in that community to light you up and, spark your next chapter, it's going to be crazy. It's also going to be small. So there's going to be a lot of one-to-one attention. You will not get lost in the community, but community is everything. Okay, next is a question from T. And she says, how to deal internally with being ghosted, unfollowed, blocked by a man who I shared the most incredible connection with and who meant more to me than any other guy. And he knew and knows that. I feel like it stopped me having a voice. It's meant I've not been able to properly communicate my thoughts, feelings, or intentions. It feels very unfinished, and although I understand that it's over, I still feel I don't properly understand him and his behavior and what changed. I default to think about the positives rather than the negatives. I feel I want to know more from him to help me learn and grow. Then again, would it hurt more to face the bitter truths, or is it more his stuff than my stuff? I know I will have contributed, and I take accountability. I guess I just want to know how to let go fully and be the best up-leveled version of myself to call in a wonderful man who loves me fully and wants to be in a relationship with me. She also did some PSs about being aware that she has an anxious attachment style and wants to be loved. She said, I was very proud of myself for being super honest and vulnerable in acknowledging what was going on for me and explaining how men have been in the past and therefore why I was struggling. I feel I've come along further than in the past. It's just a shame we weren't able to properly communicate to enable me to feel complete. And it was interesting because I had some thoughts firing off as I was reading, and then she did another PPS, which I think this hits the nail on the head. So interestingly, I think you're already knowing your answers. She wrote, I'm also aware I have some disempowerment going on. Was I too much? Was it my fault? Did I do something wrong? Did I push him away? Why did he change his feelings? And was it because of me? And there we hit into the vulnerability. So we go from the questioning into deep vulnerability of what's really being called to be seen. I think the first thing I want to say, T, is you're very brave for sharing with us. And that's a really, really hard thing to go through. There's nothing worse than being ghosted. There is nothing worse than just being ignored or blocked and not having your answers. And while I've not been through that with a man, I have been through that with a couple of girlfriends. and it hurt like hell. I just wanted to know why. I never got to have the clearing conversation. And it's very, very painful. And it's very easy to knee jerk into, what did I do? I think there's a better question to be asked. I think the question needs to be more about, what am I learning about myself here? So it's taking your power back again. I feel like there's a bit of a theme with some of the questions here. Taking your power back. What can I take from this? What can I learn from this? Is there an invitation here for me to deepen my self-worth? Is there an invitation here for me to notice? I mean, often relationships are a mirror to us in some way. And maybe his inability to communicate reflects something about where you're at around communication. And I don't know without talking to you. But often there's a mirror. I feel like there's an invitation also here for you to tweak your vision, like the kind of man that you want to be with. Like, what has this experience shown you? Because I know I think I mentioned it last night, I had a couple of relationships, short, not particularly deep, but, nice guys before I met James. And when they ended, while it was right that they ended, it was sad and it brought stuff up and it made me wonder, am I not enough? Is it ever going to happen for me? All my things came up. But really, it ended because they weren't my guy. And what really I thought about T when you were sharing, it's like, well, and I know rationally you know this, a guy that ghosts you is not your guy, because your guy is more emotionally mature, more emotionally available, more honest, more respectful. So it's showing you that something better, something more is waiting for you. And that's a way to kind of take your power back, is to realize that. So so better questions are, what am I learning from this? What am I receiving from this? What is getting mirrored back to me? How is this clarifying my vision for what I want? How is this clarifying what I'm worthy of? How is this helping me deepen my relationship with myself, my resolve? Because as you do that, you will be altering your identity or be upgrading your identity so that it becomes the vibrational match for the right guy. There's something going on in your identity right now and what you're believing, and therefore how you're behaving, that was available for this man. And that's no judgment on you at all. You're progressing every step of the way. And he's not the one. So take the lessons. Remember that old saying that I've said many times, mind your own business? The more we wonder what's going on for them, what's going on for him, what's he thinking, what does he believe about me, we're in their space and their energy. We can never know. And you said, was I too much? Was it my fault? Did I do something wrong? Did I push him away? It's like, get out of his business and into your own, and be real and truthful with yourself. It sounds to me like there was some vulnerability there, and there's even maybe a bit of, like, sometimes when we're really vulnerable, and I think that you were with him at the very end from what I'm reading, there can be a little bit of a shame hangover from that, because maybe you're not so comfortable being so vulnerable with somebody. And so right there is an invitation to deepen your relationship with yourself, that it be easier to share of yourself with someone that you can trust. The other thing I made a note about was, while he has cut you off and you can't speak to him, but there's a real desire to communicate, you could have a soul-to-soul conversation with him. So you could write a letter to him and then put it away or burn it. But you could write what you feel that you need to say. whenever I've done the Ho'oponopono prayer, we touched on that last night, the Hawaiian forgiveness prayer, I have used it. In fact, I have a crazy experience of using it with my ex, my son's father. And I was very triggered by a bunch of things, and it was just, the emotions were really taking over me, and I knew that the only way that I would ever not be triggered by him was to forgive him and to forgive myself. I'd reached that point. I was ready. I'd done all the emotional expression. I'd done so much work around that relationship. It had been years since we'd split up, but we had a child together. And I'd reached a point of, it's time to forgive. So I took myself off and just intuitively moved through the Ho'oponopono prayer. And I probably spent an hour in the prayer. I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you, I love you. And because this is energetic work, I was able to see him in his vulnerability. And I actually had this experience of seeing him as a small child and what he grew up dealing with. And I moved through this deep, incredible forgiveness process. And we hadn't spoken for a long time at that point. And he texted me about an hour after I finished my Ho'oponopono process, asking if we could meet. And we met the next day on a park bench for 3 hours. And he spent 3 hours sharing with me and apologizing. And I got to apologize. And we had the most incredible conversation. And it was very, very clearing. But that only happened because I spoke to him on a soul level first. I'm not suggesting you do this with attachment to outcome, that, well, if I do that, then maybe he'll reach out to me. I personally believe, take it or leave it, that we can communicate on a soul level with people. And we can't do that with any expectation from them. It is a tool for us to come to peace and healing, so we are no longer triggered. If we're being triggered by anybody, if anything, I said this with answering another question, if anything is upsetting us, it is a communication that there's an energy on it for us. Our work is right there. So, and with all that said, T, I'm offering you my love and compassion, because I know only too well how painful it is to be ghosted. Nothing worse. Oh, final question, Laura, and you're here, so we can chat about it too. You've written, I fully believe in the affirmation I just wrote. I create the life I want to live, but often don't feel clarity around what that looks like. I know what I don't want anymore, but from years of shoulding my way through life, I feel like I have a hard time imagining what is possible. Any advice on how to discover your true self? Would you want to unmute and we can chat about it?
Sure. Yeah. You both articulating that sacred void, that's the space I've been in, but it's been a year and a half-ish. And so going from, I'm an event planner who was very much in my masculine energy, and then shifted over to more of feminine, but then I still lean into my masculine for work. I just feel like I'm in flow more, and trusting that kind of this, I've slowed down so much. I told my breakout group yesterday, if I slow down anymore, I'll be dead. Work has slowed down. I'm still making enough, and work has slowed down. I'm done when my kids get home from school. It's just this really balanced space, and I feel really good. And I do trust that I'm in this space for a reason, and that there'll be a shift into a different chapter. And I feel fine that I'm still in this space, but because of being in my masculine for so long, and I feel unproductive sometimes, that I'm like, am I okay? Am I good in this space? And so it's and trust that I am. And so I can answer my question. I know it's okay that I'm still here, But because it's lasting as long as it is, I'm like, wow, okay, I'm really being tested to see if I trust that it's okay that life is slowed down. And maybe I've just created it. Like maybe this is what I've come to fruition of wanting and putting out the intentions for. I'm kind of answering my own question, but I feel like there's a like maybe I just need to accept it. And then the like what I was asking for the question is I've always questioned like you saying there a fire inside you. I'm like, I don't necessarily have a fire for anything. Like I enjoy planning, I enjoy my kids, but there's nothing like when I have a free day, I often am like, what what am I gonna do? Because if it's not something that I have to do, then there's this huge question. And so like
Mm.
I've recently gotten back into reading and I love it. And so that's what I like I've been reading a lot. And reading for fun. Oh my goodness, like I love it. And then I do yoga, but like other than that, like I am not told to like do art or music or like there's other things that like speak to people. And other than reading and yoga, there's nothing really speaking to me. And so, and it's always been a question. People are like, what do you do? And I'm like, I don't know, And so that like, so there's kind of two pieces to it of this, like, I feel like I'm in this sacred void and I do trust that it's okay that I'm still in this space. But then there's this tiny little part of me that's like, are you sure you're okay in this space? And then what do I do in this space? Like what do I do with this new life that I'm entering into? Maybe I just read all the time, like I just
I really, really, really understand what you're saying because you're at the same time as telling me you're in the sacred void space, you're also a high achieving woman historically, right? Yeah. And so I would imagine that a high value for you would be achievement.
yep.
And I say that because I'm going to level with you. I only very recently realized for me that achievement was a high value. I demonized the word achievement.
Yeah.
I made it wrong that I wanted to achieve until I realized it's okay to want to achieve, just not from that disempowered masculine place, right?
Yeah.
So if that is a value of yours, is not going anywhere. And because it's a value, I wonder if therefore you're looking at how you're using your time day to day and wondering, am I achieving?
Mm-hmm.
And so then my question is, are you enjoying your day-to-day life right now?
Yes, I was happy. Like I felt great today. Like I moved through the things I needed to do and wanted to do and I found that balance. But I think the question is like, but there's not these like sparks of like, oh, go garden or, and everyone has their thing. And I don't necessarily know what my thing is to like, yes, I did it. Like I feel so fulfilled. So yes, I
Mm.
felt good today. Was there anything that was like, yes, I did that? That was so amazing. No.
So first of all, I mean, I really understand and actually relate a lot to what you're sharing. My sense and intuition as you're speaking is that you're on, I mean, you're on the journey, but you're well down the path on your own personal journey. Like what the life you are living today, I'm imagining that Laura 5 years ago would be like, that's a dream. Imagine
Yeah.
if I,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yes. How often do you acknowledge that?
Not often.
So there's a desire to get to the next stage on the journey. And part of that desire is to know, like, what sparks me, what switches me on, what gets me excited and juiced up, because they've got it and they've got it and I didn't seem to have it. That's the next piece to come. But before we can get to the next, we have to integrate and embody where we are. And it doesn't have to be some huge process, and it has to happen. Like, I really invite you to look back on where you were at the points in your life that were more difficult or less satisfying or less aligned. And remember that, oh my gosh, I mean, I have to do this so often. If I'm ever dissatisfied in my life, I have to stop and go, holy shit, I have created the life I journaled about 10 years ago. I'm actually living it. How am I possibly dissatisfied right now? But we do, because we forget that we created the thing. So you've created an experience for yourself. So really just gratitude, appreciation, like gratitude to the divine or whoever you talk to for the support in bringing this together, gratitude to yourself. That, I mean, think about what it took, feel into what it took, the decisions you've made, how you've expanded into this space. Because I'm imagining in the beginning it was uncomfortable to have so much time, and then you're learning to get okay with it, and you're learning to trust your feminine more. That whole experience is something to acknowledge.
Yeah.
Before we go to the next, we have to integrate and embody where we've come to. And then step 2 is going to be, there's a desire here, right? Of, I want to feel the spark. So have you set the intention to be shown?
No.
Have you asked? Have you,
Aha, duh.
right?
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, have you prayed about it? Have you journaled about it? Have you just written the note of, do you know, my favorite prayer is, even though I don't know, I'm willing to be shown. So even though I don't know what sparks me up, I'm willing to be shown. Write that in your journal.
Yeah.
Say it as you're on your next walk in nature. Even though I don't know where my spark is, I'm willing, ready, and able to be shown. I'm ready to be shown. I am available to receive guidance. And something I do all the time now, I chat to my spirit. I don't know what your relationship is to life beyond, but like, I have a spirit team. I have angels, I have passed on loved ones, I have guides, and I ask them. I'm like, I don't know what's next for me. Can you show me? I don't know how to handle this conversation. Can you help me? I ask for help all the time, because we forget and we think that our little human brains have all the answers. And we are so in the habit of shouldering the responsibility for everything, like we are the source of all things in our lives. And we are not. Not least, we have people who love us that can help us. And there's support out there for us. And there's divine support, however that translates for you. And we can ask, like, I am not the source of everything. That's what my disempowered masculine wants me to believe. I have to figure everything out. I am the only person that can do it. It's not true. So it's okay to not know right now, but set the intention to be shown.
I love it.
So Jess asked, I really recognize that overthinking is never the solution to anything. Any other overthinkers here? And yet I find it really difficult to let go of it as a method of protection. My mind wants to make sure I'm aware of things that could be wrong, especially in case I'm in the wrong relationship because of my history of being hurt in relationships. But then I become primed to see all the problems and also get overly reactive with him, which then becomes a negative cycle between us. Luckily, this person wants to resolve and grow and talk things through. It's all good growth, whatever happens, which sometimes helps me to let go a little, but then back to overthinking. How can I let go and let things unfold while trusting that I will protect myself when needed and take action? So I feel that for you, Jess, and I know that you have done some very powerful inner child work that really changed the game for you, because we did that together. And I have a feeling that really what's going on here is your wounded inner child is coming up and looking for some attention. Now that you're in a relationship, it's like your wounded inner child is feeling out of control, is feeling unsafe, and so is flipping into controlling patterns. And the control is the overthinking, because we, bless us humans, we think that if I think it through enough, I'll be able to protect myself. I'll be able to be safe. So this wounded part of you is trying to keep you safe. But of course, it can't. And it's having the opposite effect, which is what you're sharing. Because the truth is, safety is a felt experience. It's not a mental experience. We can't think ourselves into safety. We can definitely use affirmations to support us, to help calm our nervous system, but we can't use thoughts to make us safe. So, and I know that we've talked about this before, and I'm sensing that you need a little reminder, because this is what happens. This is, by the way, girls, I call this transformational amnesia, where we learn and we forget, and we need someone to remind us, or we need life to give us a little reminder. So step one, when you're going in, for all of us, anyone that's an overthinker, step one, because you are conscious, awake women, you notice when your mind is spinning. You just stop and notice it. You almost have an out-of-body experience of, oh, I'm doing that thing where I overthink. And because I know Jess, I know she's done enough work to understand where that overthinking is coming from. She knows she has a relationship with her wounded inner child, which she has been healing. But I don't know, without a conversation with her, I don't know if she's continuing that work, because we don't get to just do inner child work and then drop it. Like, we have to bring that part of us in for nurturing and love and care as an ongoing piece. Otherwise, they're going to scream and get out of control and force us into overthinking or whatever our control behavior is. So notice it and have that loving conversation with yourself. Oh, I'm doing that thing where I overthink, and I know what that really is. There's a wounded part of me that's not trusting this situation, that doesn't feel safe. I mean, obviously at that point you get to decide, because maybe it's not a safe situation, right? Like, and you have to remove yourself. That's something else. But I know that what she's talking about is a wounded part of her trying to protect her. So the work becomes about soothing that inner child, soothing that part, and giving her what she needs. And because Jess has a relationship with her inner child, she knows what that part of her needs. And usually, nearly always, it's compassion, it's reassurance, it's like, I got this, let me take care of you. Like, it's you taking care of a more vulnerable part of yourself, giving that vulnerable part of yourself a hug, some reassurance, some love, and at the same time thanking that part of you. It's like, thank you for trying to protect me. This isn't the kind of help I need, right? It's like, it's just, instead you're going to love that part of you. That part of you, its job isn't to take care of you. Your job as adult conscious, aware woman is to take care of the wounded part of you. And then once you've done that, you've created that awareness, you've connected with that wounded part of you, then you come home into your body, because that's where we feel safe. And you can do, on day one, on Monday, we practice the hand on heart, hand on womb, and telling yourself, I'm safe. But honestly, sometimes just physically putting hands on your body to feel, to remember, like to come back into your body. And right there, we're connecting to our feminine, the body, the home of the feminine. It's where we feel our feelings. It's where we connect to source. It's where we can remember that we are not just this human experience. As soon as we come back, so sometimes I have different ways of touching my body. Like sometimes I'll just put a hand on the back of my neck and one on my chest. And I invite you to try it now. There's something about that just feels like, oh, I've really got me. You can sort of sink back into the hand behind your neck. I got me. I'm safe. So if my inner child needs some real deep tenderness, sometimes I'll take myself off to sleep and I'll lay on the pillow and I'll stroke the side of my face, a bit like a mum might do to her small child. And it's just, oh, so nice. Sometimes I ask James to do it for me, But, if I need a little reassurance, but we can just stroke ourselves and hug ourselves, right? We can give that to ourselves. So yeah, returning to the body and then that reassurance, like I'm safe. I know what I need to do. And usually when it's in a relationship, it's going and having the conversation, but having the conversation from a place of I've already self-soothed. I've already taken care of the part of me that was triggered, that's trying to control. I'm back in my body. I remember that I am a powerful woman. And I'm from this place, I can communicate. And I would say, if it was me with my husband, I would say, I've just been through an experience where I felt like I needed to control everything. My brain was freaking out. I'm overthinking all the things. I just had to have a word with myself and be gentle with myself and come home to myself so that I can talk to you about it. Because here's what I'm freaking out about. I know it might not be rational. This is where I went. This is the rabbit hole I went down. This is the direction I would prefer to take. Maybe I need your support, right? And so we can have conversations when we've taken care of our own needs first. The next question is from Pri, who said, I'm having a hard time with creating space for my mother's repressed feelings. She's not coping well with retirement as career was her biggest identity. That's right there, that line. That's what I don't want for my clients. And it's been my experience too. Your identity isn't your job. It's who you are. Your job is something you do. Your career is something you do. It's your gift to the world. It's it's your expression in the world, but it's not who you are. I've tried to help her find purpose elsewhere or work more part-time. More recently, I've noticed she has resentment for any childcare she provides, is rude to my husband, and becomes passive-aggressive, especially when her expectations are not met. I've tried to encourage therapy, alternative healing, but also can't force anything. I've expressed my feelings to her and she apologizes, and then a few months later it's the same. I'm wondering how to manage my own feelings towards her as I'm reaching my capacity to hold space for these feelings. I know my threshold is also lower as I'm sleep deprived and I'm at full capacity with my 3 and 1 year old and being the breadwinner for my family. The couple of things that really leap out for me is the first line, I'm having a hard time creating space for my mother's repressed feelings. And then when you say, I'm reaching my capacity to hold space for these feelings. It's the good girl archetype within you that is so loving, that wants to love and help your mama. And that's beautiful. There's nothing wrong with that, of course. And I hope that my child and my stepchildren, or my three children, I hope that they will have that love and tenderness and thoughtfulness for me as I age. And it's not your job to create space for anybody else's feelings. Period. Like, it's not. That's like actually more of a codependent relationship when we find ourselves doing that. If any of you ever find yourself needing someone else to be okay so that you can feel okay, that's codependency. And no judgment on it. I'm a recovering codependent myself. There's never anything wrong with wanting to love on people and help people, right? That's beautiful. When it's to your own detriment, and when the motivation is, I'm not okay unless you're okay, there's something to be looked at. I'm not saying that's what's going on for Pri. She hasn't said that. What she is holding, though, which feels so heavy, is so much responsibility for somebody else's feelings. And when it's your mom, there's that umbilical cord is still there. It's so close because your mom took care of you for so many years, right? So there's the guilt can be there. I mean, there's so much could be wrapped up in it. And without talking to Pri, I don't want to presume. But at the top, the highest level, we can't help anybody else with their feelings. Of course, we can make suggestions and of course we can give love, but it is not our responsibility to fix. You know, when she says, I'm reaching my capacity to hold space for her mum's feelings, it's a little bit of an alarm bell, because bless her heart, she's got a lot going on. So to start with, Pri, I would invite you to acknowledge the part of you that wants to make mum better or reassure your mum. Just acknowledge there's a part of you that wants to do that. And it's a very loving part of you. And I would invite you to reassure that part of you that it's okay to step back. Like, it's safe to step back. It's safe to allow your mum to be on her own journey. And in coaching, we might explore why you don't feel safe to step back, or why it's so hard to step back. But in the first instance, just acknowledge there's a part of you that is finding it hard to step back, and reassure that part of you. I use in my coaching all the time is the word and. So it's holding two things at once. And it's like, it's the solution to so much. So I would ask you, can you be kind and compassionate with mum and give yourself what you need? Like, instead of it being an either or, I'm kind and compassionate to mum, and then I have no capacity for myself. What if it could be both? And how then, if it was both, what's required? There might be some boundaries required. So when she projects pain, it's about reminding yourself that that is hers and not yours. And if a part of you sparks up and is deeply uncomfortable with that, that is the work. That would be the coaching work, or the therapy work, or the therapeutic coaching work, which is what I do. Because, you know, we can't take someone else's pain away. They are on their own journey, and it can take some time to really get to a place of being okay with that truth. And what I'm seeing deeply in your message, especially when you said you're sleep deprived and you've got two very little kids and you're the breadwinner of the family, is self-care. Because the truth is, if we're not, you know, it's the aircraft, you know, put your oxygen mask on before helping somebody else. If you have a mum that needs, as she's aging, is needing more support, you have to take care of yourself to have the capacity to give her that. Otherwise, you are giving from an empty cup. It's only when we can give to ourselves do we have an overflow or a surplus to share with someone else. Otherwise, we're just depleting our own energy. So really, first and foremost, it is asking yourself the question, how can I make myself a priority? How can I give myself what I need? And I would invite you to consider what you give to your mum and explore how could you give that to yourself. Because I wouldn't be surprised if what you're giving her is what your soul is calling out for. And when that's going on, we hit depletion so much faster. So I'm going to answer Emma's question, which is, I have decided to try and bring the person that I'm dating into my journey, meaning explaining what I'm trying to do versus pushing him away. Katie, you've mentioned that you and James have been on this journey from the beginning. Do you have any tips? Okay, so Emma has asked a couple questions through the week, and the theme was around being, so I think from what she shared, there's an anxious, avoidant attachment style. And when she's single, she's more on the anxious style, but when she's in a relationship, it's more avoidant. And I relate because that was more my patterning, which I have healed over the years. What I would say is I did a lot of healing work around this before I met him. And I moved into a place of dating where I wasn't so anxiously attached. It was a journey. I mean, look, I was a single mom for 8 years. So in that 8 years, I did a profound amount of personal growth work. I worked with lots of different coaches, privately and in group settings. I was deeply committed to my journey. And for 5 of those 8 years, I was very much by choice single because I knew that I had healing work to do. And I had a history of some, dysfunctional relationships. And then I found myself with a child, and I'm like, if I'm ever going to get back in a relationship, I have to grow. I have to grow up. I have to become more mature. I have to understand myself to be able to relate healthily in a relationship. So I was very deeply focused on my inner work, and I invested a lot in that on all levels, energetically, time, money, all the things. And it pays dividends, right? So by the time I came to meeting James, I'd grown up so much and I'd healed so much. And the healing journey required so much vulnerability from me with myself and with my coaches and with the women I was in coaching groups with, that I'd become quite proficient at speaking my truth. In the beginning, it was hard, but I got to practice on my coach. I got to practice on the women I was being coached alongside. And so by the time I met him, I was a lot better with the vocabulary to share and be open and honest. And I think I said on another call this week, sometimes when it's, I don't know what to say, instead of going into avoidant and not saying anything, I do my journaling. I notice my own patterns. I will calm my own inner child. Like, I'll do my own process. I don't use James as a journal. I don't dump on him. I have the self-awareness to do my own inner work. And then I would go to him and I might just start the conversation with, I need to talk about something and I'm finding it hard to find the words. Just something like that, like bear with me. But I would just be really vulnerable that I'm not perfect at communication all the time. I don't know if that's a tip. I mean, really, at the end of the day, there is no getting away from the fact that the personal growth work changes your life. And it changes how you relate to people. It changes your ability to speak your truth with honesty. to be able to ask for what you need, to be able to give love and help them, not to your own detriment, like we were just talking about. Like this, it pays back dividends. So I, you know, honestly, I just done so much of that work that I was able to talk to him. Yeah, I mean, I remember the first most difficult conversation I ever had to have with him, and it was when we were combining our lives. We decided to move in together, and I'd been, like I said, single mom for 8 years. I was deeply independent, and I had hustled to support myself financially because I didn't have any financial support from anywhere else, to have a nice home and little holidays and, you know, what's required to bring up a child. I'd been doing that on my own. I was fiercely independent. The idea of joining forces with a man, I mean, I had to heal so much around how much I trusted men to even be able to meet a trustworthy man. The act of joining in a home with my child, like bringing my child into that situation, oh my goodness, all my stuff came up. And I had to really, you know, I had to take quite some time before I said anything to him. Before we moved in together, when we were beginning the conversations of it, behind the scenes, he didn't know I was journaling. I was journaling the crap, like daily journaling, understanding what was going on for me, what was so terrifying. And when I was ready, I sat down with him. And it was an absolute awkward before elegant conversation. But he's the kind of man that I was manifesting. So he listened and he totally understood. And, you know, because I was like, how do we do the finances? Like, do we have separate bank accounts? Who pays for what? Like, all of those conversations were, you know, no one likes talking about money. And I'm good at talking about money now, but then, and I just, you know, it was new. So, Emma, I don't know if I've been helpful in answering your question. Do your best is what I would say. Trust yourself. What I know for sure is vulnerability. I actually take it or leave it. I think vulnerability is an incredibly attractive quality. We think that it's not attractive and nobody wants to be around us if we're being vulnerable. I don't agree. I actually think when you're vulnerable, it takes the barriers down, it makes you more approachable, it makes you more lovable. It's, you know, I mean, I have so many stories of being vulnerable with James in the early days. And I have a few stories where, you know, his response to my vulnerability, which I thought was just awful, and I was crying and red, and was, I love you even more. Who knew that a man would say that when I was like looking disgusting from the crying and the snot and the deep honesty? And I love you even more was the response I got. Oh my goodness. But isn't that the truth? Like if you have a friend that really needs you, or someone really opens up to you, it's a privilege. It's a privilege, but we judge ourselves as being imperfect. And we don't want anyone else to see our imperfections. So it totally takes practice to be vulnerable. And it's another reason why I love coaching groups, because you'll get to practice being vulnerable. And then you take that into your relationship. You take that into aspects of your life that need it. I think maybe the more powerful way of speaking of the experience of vulnerability is I'm speaking my truth. And that's powerful. Don't we want to speak our truth with love? That's so powerful. That's all vulnerability is. It's behaving in a way that is fully aligned with you. That's powerful and vulnerable. Because, yeah, you're going to open yourself up. People will judge. You think I don't do these things and the people behind the scenes aren't judging me right now? We are powerful in our vulnerability, and that's all very nice to hear. We have to practice it. And it's through the practicing of it and realizing, oh my God, the world didn't end. Oh my God, they still love me. Oh, I'm still standing. I didn't die in the process. The more we practice, the more we realize it's okay to be who we are and speak that. And we know where we can't. We know where it's not okay, right? There's people we open our hearts and soul to, and there's people we don't. We just have discernment, right? Yeah. It was from Hester. Where's Hester? Hester's here, isn't she? There you are. Yes, there you are. I knew you were here. I love your question. And you said, sorry for a basic question. It's not basic. This is a really powerful question. And it does make me giggle that most of the questions I get are still about dating, because that's what I was doing for so many years, right? Is helping women, midlife women, single women. Right. So Hester has asked, should I try online dating, or is this forcing things and interfering with the plan life has for me? Should I just have trust that he's on his way to me and I'll meet him someday somewhere? Darlin, from my experience and what I know, take it or leave it, I believe it's the and both of those things. Yes, trust. Yes, he will find you somehow, some way. That is not your business. How he comes in is none of your business. And that's what makes it so freaking miraculous and wonderful, right? We think like, I'm going to figure out the best way to meet my person. I'm going to go do those things. Like I remember for me, I'm like, my guy doesn't live in Haywards Heath, which is where I was living at the time. No, actually I was in Ardingly, I think. Anyway, my guy doesn't live here. I must go out into the world and find him. So I invested a huge amount of money on traveling around the world, going to these high-end retreats and transformational experiences where all the really cool guys hung out, because they were conscious, they were awake, they were intelligent, they had written books, they were speaking on stages. That's where my guy was going to be. And I did like see some of them, and like I didn't properly date any of them. But my guy wasn't there. And turned out he lived down the road, and I met him through online dating. So here's the thing. I didn't want to online date when I was out traveling the world finding him, but I thought, well, that's something I can do, and that's what I want to do. That felt really good for me, and I grew as a person in the process. And for a long time, I just did not want to date online. It did not feel good for me. And right there is the key. It has to feel good for you. Don't do it because it's a should or because everyone says. Like, you have to be ready because it's energetics. That's why, like, when I was coaching women for all those years around meeting their soulmate, I never put myself out there as a dating coach. Like, I would bring in experts on how to write your profile and what great pictures are. I mean, I could probably help, but I would bring in other people, because all of that helps to have the right photos, to have the right profile, to go on the right apps, to understand how the algorithm works, yada, yada. And the energy you bring to being online is more important than all of that. The intention that you bring to it, the clarity you bring in terms of who you're calling in and how that person makes you feel, right? There's so much at play. But here's the thing, we can't just sit back and trust. That's the feminine, and the masculine takes action. So it's both, it's the and what does if you're in your empowered masculine, remember from the masterclass, the empowered masculine is always taking inspired action. That's action that is felt and instructed from our feminine. So if our feminine is like, you know, I'm feeling the desire to get online, that feels like the right next move for me. So she's instructing her empowered masculine to, you know, open the app, write the profile, get the help maybe to write the profile, and do the dating online. That's when it's right. Like for me, when I did go online, I was talking to one of these guys that I'd met at one of these amazing events that was trying to date me, but he wasn't my guy. And we're on a call. I think he was in New York at the time, and I was in the UK. And he visited me where I lived, and he was like, Kate, I won't do his accent. He's like, Katie, you know, you live in the middle of nowhere. You're never going to meet your guy in the Sussex countryside. You need to join Bumble. And it was how it felt in my body, the way it landed. It was like, doof, voice of God, you need to join Bumble. And I felt it. So I immediately joined Bumble. I was ready. And then I met James like literally within 2 weeks. After 8 years of being a single parent, by the way, right? So it's a journey. And there was a lot of personal growth work required leading up to that point. And I was very, very in my feminine as well at that point. So anyway, long-winded answer. Do what feels good for you. All right. So she says, through conditioning, I've spent a lot of my life in the masculine. In 2021, I found my feminine and it felt amazing. Everything was aligned, flowing, and I felt like a goddess. Through finding my feminine, I had 2 beautiful children, which I'm very grateful for. Yeah, you did. I had my children very close together, 2 in 3 years. Well done. And this caused a lot of financial stress for me because I'm self-employed. Motherhood and debt has taken its toll. I am ashamed to say I hate myself. Oh, my darling. I'm in fight or flight constantly, and my disempowered masculine constantly tells me how terrible I am. My feminine gets ignored, and I feel hates me now too. I'm always angry, impatient, anxious, feel no joy, and this makes me hate myself more. I know I need to try to rebuild the relationship with myself and work out what I want, but a good start would be not to hate myself. Do you have any advice for how I can move forward? I know I'm a good person, have it inside of me to be a goddess again, just need to find her again. Are you happy to unmute?
Yeah.
Hate is such a strong word.
I know.
I wonder why you're choosing that word.
I don't really know. I feel this kind of like sort of like come into everything. Do you know what I mean? It's like I feel about everything. Like sometimes my children, sometimes my house, my job, like everything. I kind of hate everything. It's quite weird. Do you know what I mean? Does it make any sense?
Are you really tired at the moment? Not because you look tired, but I'm just wondering, are you tired?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. I ask that because it's such a maternal question to ask, isn't it? Are you tired? Because I know I know when I'm tired, I know when my son's tired, everything is so much worse.
Mm.
And are you juggling a lot?
Yeah, I mean, I work full time. I have 2 children, I just, yeah. But I mean, nothing more than, I know that's just kind of life and it's not easy and everyone goes through these things. Um, but I just feel like stuck in this, like stuck, in this sort of fight or flight. And there are possibilities to do things, but because my disempowered, it's like my feminine is like, "Ooh, wouldn't it be nice to have this?" And then the disempowered goes, "No, you don't have time for that. You've got to get on and da da da." And then she goes, "Oh, wouldn't it be nice to?" Do you know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
the disempowered says, "No, you're bad at this. You shouldn't do this. Just get on and do that. You haven't got time to do this. You've got to do this." And then it's just this cycle, and then you kind of get worse because you're not giving yourself what you need, so then it gets worse, and then it comes out of you, into like your family, and then it's just a cycle. It's like a cycle. I just need to break the cycle basically, because I know that I do have I am able to get the flow going again. I just need to break the cycle. And I think from what you've been saying, the way of doing that is to, think about what it would be to have an empowered relationship with yourself again. What would it be to love yourself again? What would that be like? So I think that's where I need to start, but it feels like impossible. Like, I think the first thing is just to not hate myself and to just feel a bit more normal again.
This might sound like an odd question,
Mm.
but is it true? Like, in fact, would you mind, do you feel comfortable to close your eyes and put your hands on your heart?
Yeah.
And if everybody else maybe wants to do this just in solidarity and support, first of all, just breathe into your heart. Just breathe in. Just keep breathing into your heart. And allow your energy to drop down from your head into your heart. It might take a couple breaths to get there. It's really allowing yourself to land in your heart. And then ask yourself, is it true that I hate myself?
No.
So just listening to your heart, what is true? What does your heart want to tell you right now?
I dislike things that have happened, but I don't hate myself for those things. Mm.
I wonder whose voice it is that says hate.
Yeah. I wonder if, I think it's, I feel uncomfortable in myself and in my skin, which kind of makes me that hate thing, because I'm like, oh, I just want to get away. Like, I hate this, But maybe it's not actually, it's kind of how I feel. It's not me.
Right.
Mm.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So what you've just done there is you've separated it out. There's hate, and we might be able to find some other language, not other language to replace it. Like, I appreciate that hate is what you're feeling. There might be anger, there might be frustration, there might be resentment, there might be exhaustion, like all the things that come under that umbrella of your current situation or current experiences. But hate of yourself, no, that's not true,
Mm.
right? I wonder if separating it out can help you to, we can deal with this over here, because here,
Mm.
well, what would you replace it with? If the language isn't I hate myself, what might be more helpful over here so that you can deal with this over here? What do you know is true about yourself?
I try hard, at least. I mean,
Yeah.
I give everything I've got. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm persistent, I'm
yeah.
resilient,
Mm. Yeah.
I do my best.
Mm. Yeah, it's funny as well, because all these things that I think about myself, no one else sees any of these things. It must probably the same with. They're like,
Yeah.
how can you feel like that? um, yeah, yeah. It's interesting separating the experience with like with myself,
Hmm.
because it's not the same thing, and I feel like it's all become like wrapped up into one, and I'm that, and this is me, and this is.
For you to break free of what is feeling so difficult right now, so all consuming, insurmountable, for you to break free of that, you have to have yourself.
Mm.
You've got to reconnect with you and remember that. Because I remember the first email you ever sent me. So Melissa and I have never actually worked together before, but we had a little email correspondence after she read my book, and you came to my event in 23.
Where I sat next to Lindy.
Yeah, yes, right. Yes. And so we don't really know each other, right? You probably know me more than I know you. The reason I'm saying that is I remember what I know is true for you is I know you've had the experience of connecting with your true self and loving her before.
Yeah. Yes, I have.
Right. And that doesn't go anywhere. That's still there. And so step one for you is going to be to create calm, quiet space to be with her. You be with the woman that you love, that you have loved. And it sounds to me like she needs a lot of kindness and compassion and understanding.
Yeah,
A lot,
100%. Yeah.
a lot. Because your disempowered masculine has got that whip out.
Oh,
Right?
100%. Like, yeah, even I feel like I can't stop, even if I, need to, or
Yeah.
yeah.
So, we want to put him in a box, don't we? But, to start with, for the purposes of this conversation and the amount of time that we have, step one is to prioritize. Try and remember what you used to do. I know it was pre-children. I know it's a different time. And you're a resourceful, resilient, intelligent woman. Create some time to connect with you. What do you need to reconnect with you? And then from that place of self-love and self-compassion, start handling what's going on externally.
That makes sense, because if I can do that, then I can bring the feminine up more and quiet, like bring the balance back a bit and work on the disempowered masculine, but not have the feminine like on the floor, walking all over her.
Yeah, you've described that really beautifully. Like right now, your disempowered masculine is jumping on, trampling all over your feminine.
That's what it feels like. Yeah.
That's the hate.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like abusive, right?
Yeah, it feels like that. It's quite weird. Yeah, it does.
Yeah, to your feminine.
Yeah.
But one of these first steps is really watching your language around it. You don't hate yourself. That's not going to help you move forward.
Yeah.
That's not true. And it's a word that really illustrates how in charge your disempowered masculine is right now. Right. And moving forward, there's some healing around that part of you that has been allowed to be in charge so much. And what is that about? But step one is breathing life back into you.
Yeah.
Thank you for asking such like a vulnerable question. That took a lot of courage. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your answer. And it already makes some sense. Like, I'm going to definitely do that.
I know that when you read my book, it really awoke something in you. So maybe just reconnect with it. Maybe there's the energy of that, because I know that really was, from what you told me, was the beginning of so much for you, right?
Yeah.
So maybe just plugging back into the energy of that book, just to take yourself back to that feeling again.
Yeah.
Maybe read over your journaling notes from back then when you were working through the book, because you're one of few women that I think actually did all the exercises in it. Not many people
Now
do.
I have the new signed copy.
Lindy has. Oh, you do? Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. So read the new version. It's better than the first one. But yeah, like tap back into the energy of that and look back at your journaling notes from then, just to awaken that in you, like just forgotten.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank
Love
you.
you.
Thank
Love
you so
you.
much.
Thank you for bringing yourself, all of yourself, to this. Really, really cool. Question from Natasha. I would like support in trying to work out what my meaningful work will be in the future. Oh, that's a big question. Love it. I am at a crossroads, a pause. It's hard to have faith in the pause. I know I need to, and I kind of do. I want to find work that is aligned with my soul purpose. In the past, I have always had such a clear vision of what my desires are, and now I don't. I have fear that if I don't try and find out what it is, I may not know. So wanting to put some positive steps in place. So the word that really jumps out at me is the fear. I fear that if I don't try and find out what it is, I may not know, which is the opposite of having faith and trust in the pause.
Yeah. I think it's so part of me, and I've been listening to some of your podcasts and obviously doing this work, and knowing that everything that's been happening in my life, like things are so churned up, so I need to just pause, and that it's all fine, everything's fine. But then the other bit, probably the masculine, the disempowered masculine, is like, yeah, but come on. And so I'm voicing that, and I was realizing when I was burning things earlier, like for me, voicing the anger, voicing the grief, the despair, like it's hard, especially to write it down. Like I'd rather be like, oh, I have this anger, but I've dealt with it, or I've got this fear, but I'm fine, I know that it's all fine. So actually me saying, yeah, I do have fear, and putting it out there is quite hard, because I've got my wise voice going, it's fine, just be in this, just trust. So I'm bringing you the other bit of me that's going, but I'm also, I'm trying all these things, and sort of, like I've come on this, and there's quite a few amazing things that have come to me right at this moment where I'm going, I need support in working out what's next. Because there was also something you were saying, I'm not sure if it was yesterday or the day before, where it's like, in the not doing, when you're a doer, but then you go into the not doing, then you're like, oh, I could just be in the not doing. Oh, okay. I can, life is busy enough, as we all know, so I can just carry on in the busyness of not doing, which is still busy when you've got 2 young kids and you're dealing with everything. And I've been moving house and blah, 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 and not birth this something that is somewhere in me, but I just don't know what it is. So does that make any more sense, or is that just
I mean, it's so interesting because it is a disempowered masculine voice that's telling you should know now. What if you don't figure it out? So you better figure it out. And it doesn't allow for, I mean, you aren't doing nothing. And there's two pronged to that. One is you're moving house, your whole life circumstances are changing, you have 2 very little children, you're not doing nothing. And most parents don't value parenting, don't value what it takes to parent. It's almost like, because this is the thing, how we have dismissed the feminine as being irrelevant or a waste of time, and what it takes, the emotional piece to bring up a child or children, is huge. And we've learned not to value that, right? Or to even acknowledge it to the degree that it needs acknowledging. You're not just sat around, you're bringing up 2 children. It's a huge contribution to the world, right? But your disempowered masculine doesn't value that. And it also doesn't value how much is happening and being done inside the pause. So when we're in a pause, so the sacred void is my language, when we're in that space of not busy in the traditional sense, in the way that we have learned to understand what it is to be busy, when we're in that pause, which first of all takes so much freaking courage, because we're conditioned to work hard and just stay in the career because that's my path and that's what I should do. And it's too scary to be in the pause, right? But when we're in the pause, it's not true that nothing's happening, and it's not true that nothing's getting done. You are birthing something. Like, actually, you're not birthing yet. You're gestating something. And you can't rush that. A disempowered masculine will put the fear into you. You better hurry up.
The disempowered masculine and the male figures in my life,
I'm
from the
sure.
outside. So, that combined with the disempowered masculine, it's quite, those voices get quite loud.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Remembering that our external world is a reflection or a mirror of our internal world. If you are listening to the voice within you that says you're wasting time, you should be figuring it out by now, you're going to end up living under a bridge if you don't, or you'll never live on purpose if you don't figure it out today, like all of those silly thoughts, with love, silly thoughts, will be reflected back to you externally.
Yeah, in the same, it's like it's about how you value yourself. So if I go around saying, this is my sacred pause time, this is I don't know what I'm gestating, but I'm gestating something, and I ring fence it as precious, others will have more respect for it if I'm respecting it. Whereas if I'm not respecting it, why would someone else? It's the same for everything, isn't it?
Yeah. And I have just recently experienced this myself in my own pulling back from everything. So yeah, Katie hasn't done a couple with Katie for 3 years, or done an event, or done anything really at all, that anyone else can see. Through pulling back, I had to go through my own internal struggle with my own disempowered masculine, and move with it, and come to a place of absolute, like, clean energy on it. And that took some time. I didn't come to clean energy with it for, I don't know how long, I couldn't put a date on it, but at least a year. I would say the first year was tossing and turning and struggling with the shame of it and all the things, the invisibility, the irrelevance, all the things that I went through. And when I really came to peace with it, I mean, James was always talking about the external masculine. My husband was always supportive, and his support, and I felt it went to another level when I was really clean on it. And by the way, the James I met 9 years ago would have, because of who he was then, and he's evolved, he wouldn't have found that very easy at all. Katie just like, what are you doing today, darling? Not sure. Like, would have freaked him out. He went, what do you mean you're not sure? Don't you have things to do? Don't you have places to be? Don't you have money to make? Don't you have, like, right? But the more clean we get within ourselves, how that's reflected back to us shifts, and the support we receive, not just from people, but from life, from the divine, it shifts. So step one, answering your question, I would invite you to acknowledge the fear is your next up level. The fear is your next up level. So what you're scared about and all of those disempowering voices is all, while it's super uncomfortable and makes you want to be sick, right there is the gold. Coming to peace with those voices, understanding where they originate, the exploration of what else could be true, the deepening into your truth, your power, your connection to everything. It's a journey, but what I'm going to say, it's a bigger conversation, and it's a few coaching calls piece, right? But for now, it's the fear is the doorway. Because you've come into this pause for a reason, and it took a lot of courage to be there. So don't waste that. Don't waste the pause. Use the fear as your route to moving through your pause. If that makes sense. I know that sounds a little big and
No,
esoteric.
what made sense is when you say, like, understanding where the voices originate and deepening into my truth. That's the value in that. Like, when I can face those voices and say, no, this is valuable, this is what I'm doing, and really feel that this is why, because I'm really on my journey, not just as words, but as really knowing. That's the gold. I get it.
I'm going really big picture in this conversation right now. If I was coaching you, we'd be picking it apart, and it might be a few sessions, but a very practical thing that you can do right now, and everybody can do this right now. And it's essentially what the work we were doing yesterday in checking out limiting beliefs. But notice those fear voices and ask yourself, what else could be true? That will be your work for now. What else could be true?
In a positive sense.
Yeah, like, is it true that I'm putting words into your mouth here, but well, actually, I don't have to put words into your mouth. What have you said? You've said, I have fear that if I don't try and find out what it is, I may not know. Is that true? Is it true that if I don't try now and find out now what it is, I may never know?
Well, I may never know, but it's also, like, just as true that I don't need to find out now. It will come. I mean, the chances are I will eventually find what it is, because I have been in my knowing with utter conviction before many times. Well, not, like, as a big thread in my life. So the chances are it will come.
Exactly. So that is what else could be true, is what you just said. So then it's about anchoring into that and becoming steadfast, strong in that.
In my faith in myself.
And that's the journey. That's why the fear is the gateway. It's the doorway to what's next, because you're working with it, you're moving with it. And I'm not going to lie, like, it's not easy to do that on our own. We can. It's not easy. And that's why I'm a coach. It's why I work with women, is because I support them through that. I'm with them. I'm at the end of, they've got me in their pocket in WhatsApp. Like, that's what we do. Because every time they doubt or fear, they have my support, or they have the support of the group. And the energy of that, like, it is, I was saying this on the call last night, and honestly, I am going to be offering you all something, and this isn't like part of the upsell. This is my truth. It is harder on our own without the expert support, without someone to see what you can't see and keep you on track and keep opening the door to possibility for you. And notice that something has come up for healing, and we do the healing work around it, and then next and next and next. There's plenty of women here who've worked with me privately and or in a group, who'll stand testament to that. It's a real commitment. But my love, first of all, like, celebrating you for consciously allowing yourself to be in this pause. rather than just headlong running into the next thing, because you should, and it will quiet the fear voice. Just because it quiets the fear voice doesn't mean it's for you.
Yeah, that's what I'm really conscious of. Like, I don't want to, now's not the time at, age 49, now's not the time to rush into something and not be doing something that's not aligned in that, and that comes from inside of me. It's not like, oh, I'm going to stick a plaster on it. This is not the time for that. It is for the gestation and the birthing.
But I want to reflect back to you that you are able to say that because of how evolved you are. That's amazing. That sentence that you just said is a reflection of you and your courage and how far you've come. So you're fueled with that. This is what we forget. Like, you just take it for granted. That's who I am. That's what I do in the pause. Not many women, it's not easy to put yourself there. It's easier to just put the blinkers on and keep going to work and doing the thing and feeling a little bit soul destroyed. And, let's be honest, practicalities have to come into play. I know for me, I was in a fortunate position that I could take the pause from a financial perspective. There were times in my life I couldn't have, and I've had to have found a different balance, right? We all have to work with our unique circumstances. Right, I'm going to start with June. So June, if you don't mind, I'm just going to read out what you wrote. And then if we need to speak, and we might, I have a feeling. Okay, so today started off so well. This morning's meditation was so beautiful. I'd planned to catch up as falling behind. I felt a great urge to go for a walk. Normally, with so much to do, I would ignore the urge and carry on doing, and sometimes not even going at all. Right, I'm going to just stop your question, because right there, congratulations. Clearly something's shifted in you being in this environment this week, because you were like,
Definitely.
I'm prioritizing the feminine. I'm listening to the urge. And you also, it was new behavior because you'd planned to catch up as falling behind. And that's the disempowered masculine telling you that you're falling behind. You can't fall behind in a free 5-day event. You just can't, right? Like, this is optional. This is, Emma's laughing at that. Yeah, this whole week is optional. It's a choice. There's nothing to fail. I'm not marking you. There's no scoreboard. There's no competition, and you have all of the materials. You just do it in your own time. And my gift to you.
Yeah.
So you didn't allow your disempowered masculine to smother the desire of your feminine, which was a great urge to go for a walk in nature. Yeah, I had that this morning too. Great urge. And I went for a big hike, like up a hill. I marched up this hill like I was a 20-year-old. It was brilliant. Anyway, so I just want to point that out. Then you say, I live in a rural area, so very quickly I'm on the country lanes. I felt light. I felt embarrassingly happy. Within 10 minutes, I got a call offering me a day's work in a familiar place where I've worked for years as a freelance artist facilitator. I was delighted, as in my negative pause, I'd convinced myself I wouldn't get opportunities again. Hello, miracle. What's the sound of the feminine? What was the noise again? I can't remember. I forgot. Ooh. Ooh. When we're in, the feminine's like, I'm miraculous. I am a magnet. I'm available for all the good things. You attracted that. You created that.
I believe that, yeah.
Right? So quickly. You've shifted your energy this week. So this is how quick it happens. Our brains think, oh, it's like turning the Titanic. It doesn't have to be.
No.
It doesn't have to be like turning the Titanic. It's just energy. And I could go off on one on 5D and how it all works, and there's no such thing as time and blah, blah, blah. But energetically, that's
Yeah.
it can, and it has. And this is brilliant because you listen to your feminine. So it's a huge lesson in this for you. You've said my DBS check had lapsed through email problems. Unfortunately for this workshop, I needed a current one. I was advised of a charity who could apply for this on my behalf. I did it instantly and it's all going ahead. Ooh. Ooh. Right? Instantly. And it's going ahead.
Yeah,
The block got cleared.
definitely. Yeah.
Right? But then I had a beautiful start, and then I completely freeze up and get nothing for me done. I mean, the irony is you did do something for you,
Yeah.
right? You spent the morning for you, but then in the freeze, that gets wiped. The freeze is like a
Yeah.
trauma response.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything before gets wiped. It's as if it didn't happen. And then you drop into what you call the black dog. You said it's like the black dog comes and sits on me. I freeze and I can't even think. And it sounds to me that like it's a self-sabotage, right? You've had this beautiful morning, you've really enjoyed yourself, you were embarrassingly happy, wonderful work came in, it all happened so smoothly, and then it's like, how dare that be the case? It's a self-sabotage. But here's what I'm wondering, and I'm going to ask you this question. Here's what I'm wondering is happening. Because, because you go on and say, I know it will pass, but I hated the wasted time while it was happening. So you're in freeze, which is a trauma response. And then your disempowered masculine is like, what the hell? Like double shaming you for shutting down. And then you described that you had a childhood memory that had tears in your eyes, and it came back flooding back into your mind as if you were in that memory right now.
Yeah.
What I'm wondering, see how this lands for you. What I'm wondering is that that child in that memory is a wounded, I'm wondering if it's a wounded part of you that doesn't know how to feel safe in unbridled happiness, that maybe doesn't know how to feel safe to just go with the flow and do what feels good.
100% correct. Yeah.
And
It goes
doesn't
back
feel safe.
to a memory. I don't want to take time and go into detail, but it's all wrapped around my mum. She suffered with mental illness all her life, and Jekyll and Hyde. She was so beautiful, so ladylike, so clever and intent, you know. But then things would happen, and all of a sudden she'd be horrendous and horrific and horrible. And when she used to come back from in them days, from what they used to call the madhouse, the mental house, where she'd had electric treatment and in a padded cell and everything. When she'd spent time in there, I used to run the house from a very young age. And when she'd come back, she would do nothing, only say, "You didn't take the sheets to the laundrette." I was only 10 and we didn't have a washing machine or anything like that. We only had one cold tap. And she never thanked me for anything I did. But I used to look at her because she'd always have her hair done. And I always used to think, please God, if there's a God, why can't my mum stay like this all the time? But she didn't. She would for a while, and I can't ever think of her encouraging me. I can't ever think of her praising me. When I came into womanhood, she'd locked the front door, so I opened the front door and I said, "Oh, I've something to tell you." She said, "Oh, I thought you had." And she was in her down period. So many things that she said that I just wanted her to stay. That lady who'd been rested, had treatment, had medication, and was back to who I believe my mum was underneath. But so many times I just got slapped in the face. And I remember at 10, I went on 2 buses and a train to go and see her because my aunt had gone somewhere and couldn't take me. And my dad said, "Oh no, love, I can't go." And I think it was because we didn't have enough money for him to go as well. But he let me go. It was very different times. So I get to this place, walk down a big long drive, go through one locked door, another locked door, and then another locked door. And the nurse knew me because I used to go with my aunt. And the first thing my mum said to me was, "What the hell have you come for? Who the hell wants to see you?" So it just come back to me tonight when you said, "Can you say a bit more about what my question was?" It came back as an instant. I was in that little old house with my mum shining bright, and my world was wonderful. But then the other memories were coming in of the negativity, and I just started crying, felt better. So sorry to go on, girls, but yeah, it's important for all you youngsters to clear anything you've got, clear it. Do Katie's work, buy a book, join a program, do whatever, because it doesn't let you go. It controls you. And so I think that's what it was about. It was that moment of, I feel like me, I feel great, and it was like a slap in the face this afternoon.
First of all, I mean, I just love you so much, and I'm quite emotional to be with you and hear your story. Because you're just such a freaking light in the world, and it breaks my heart that that was your experience as a kid, and that it still can be so felt like it was for you today. And you're so brave and courageous to share it with us. So thank you for modeling that courage, and in your sharing, you're opening everybody's heart here right now, and we're all feeling for you. I know that we are. You're bringing awareness to actually something powerful that we all experience, and that is when a part of us sabotages our joy, because that part of us is scared and doesn't trust that it's okay to surrender and relax into joy. Your little girl, I mean, it was all she knew. I mean, I can only imagine the fight or flight, response. For you, it's very much a freeze response based on what you have just shared with us. Fight, flight, fawn, freeze as the trauma responses, and yours is to freeze. Mine tends to be to freeze as well. I'm a freezer. And you freeze because the little girl part of you was never shown it was okay to have, in your words, to feel embarrassingly happy because what's coming. Every experience you had in your formative years and onwards was mum's great, and then mum's great, and then it gets taken away. the joy disappears, the peace disappears, the happiness goes. It's not real. It can't last. Brace yourself for the next time that it's not.
And there were a lot worse times
I'm
that
sure.
I couldn't share. Yeah.
I'm sure. And so, well, that I feel like that explains what's going on. And then the work is nurturing and loving and taking care of that little girl, that part of you, and almost preempting it. Like when you choose to listen to your feminine, like you did this morning, you overrode that disempowered masculine voice. It's like you're getting nothing done. What you're doing, you overrode it. You now know, you have the awareness of when I override and go and allow myself to have pleasure. First of all, I know miracles tend to happen, so yay. But second of all, I also know there can be a backlash.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's awareness. I know that there can be a backlash. And so I will, maybe you'll invite your inner child to come with you on the walk. Maybe you'll bring her along. And maybe,
Oh, she would love it.
right? Maybe you get, because this is, I mean, we can't go too deep into inner child work right now, because we
No.
don't have the time. But what I can say is when we work with our inner child, we reparent that part of us. Your little girl, the wounded little girl, didn't get the mothering that she deserved. And there's no blame on your mum, right? There's
No.
no
No.
blame here. She was struggling with what she was
Mm.
struggling with. She did her best. Every parent, I believe, does. So it's not a blame.
Yeah.
And it's not okay that that was your experience. So you get to reparent that little girl. You get to be the mama to her that she didn't have. So when you feel that great urge to go for a walk, you grab her hand and you say, honey, we're going for a walk. And it's
Yeah.
okay. And while you're walking, you breathe in to, so that part of you, breathe into that part of you. Let her begin day by day by day. This is a day by day piece. Let her slowly learn that it's safe. Breathe in and expand into that part of you and let her know it's safe to be walking in nature. It's safe to feel ridiculously happy. It's safe for good things to happen to us, miracles to happen. It doesn't mean there's something bad coming around the corner. But you can take your little girl with you and
Yeah.
you tell her, sweetheart, it's okay. Sweetheart, it's safe. Nothing bad's going
That's
to happen. We can go for a nice walk and we can go home and have a nice cup of tea and a bowl of porridge and it's going to be okay. And we can just get on with planning our art class that we've been asked to run and everything is okay. She just doesn't know it. So your job is to tell her.
wow. Thank you. And that's one of my phrases I often say to my children. They're all in their late 40s and nearly 50. But I always say, especially the girls and the grandchildren, oh, sweetheart. Oh, it's okay, sweetheart. Oh, come on, sweetheart. So that word resonates with me.
So exactly. And the thing is, you're naturally doing it with your kids and grandkids.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So now it's time to do it for yourself with her. Because she, like, when our wounded inner child, it is a whole workshop. Our wounded inner child is running our lives if we're not conscious to it. It's running our finances, running our relationships, it's running our health, our vitality, our general happiness. They're like pulling us down because it does not feel safe to do whatever the thing is.
I'm making a promise to myself and a promise to all you ladies who I may never ever see again that I'm going to read the book and do the work. And thank you. I've had more than enough time. So thank you so much. Thank
Darling,
you.
it is a pleasure. And I promise you that if you do just slowly, like just as and when as it feels good for you, if you do slowly move through the book, it's going to help with what we've just talked about so much. And it will lead you on a journey to, there's an entire chapter on the inner child and how to work with that part of you. So it's right. It is there for you.
Thank you. Love you
Take
so
that
much.
time. I love you too. Thank you for being
Thank you.
here. Alrighty, final question from Hester. And she says, I have always struggled with feeling and expressing anger. As a girl, I was raised to be sweet and polite and modest, and there was no room for any negative emotions. Now that I'm older, I recognize anger as a healthy and powerful emotion. But because I have always suppressed the feeling and expressing of it, I am still struggling how to deal with it. Sometimes I find myself being so very angry on the inside, when on the outside, I'm doing business as usual. I always find out too late that I'm angry after I overreact in a situation and get too mad about something small and insignificant. How do I balance this anger inside of me so that I can actually use it as a positive tool instead of letting it consume me? So I love that Hester already knows and recognizes that anger is a healthy and powerful emotion. Yes, it's not bad or wrong. And if we've never been shown that it's safe to express our emotions, and if no one's ever shown us how to express that anger in a safe way, it makes sense that even though you know intellectually in her brain, she knows and recognizes it as a healthy and powerful emotion, in her body, she doesn't know that to be true. And there's a part of her, and again, I mean, it always comes back to the inner child. That's why in my second book, I had to put that huge chunky chapter in there on the inner child, because it always comes back that there's a wounded part that doesn't believe it's safe to express anger. And I know the question is saying, how do I balance this anger inside of me? I know why you're saying that, Hester, and it's not about balancing it. The sense I'm getting is, and I don't know how old you are, for very many years, you have learned to push down and suppress the anger. So you've been managing it. Of course, it's going to come out sideways and you're going to overreact to little things because you're a pressure cooker. And before we can get to a place of balance, we have to release the pressure cooker. And I remember the first time I ever did that. I was absolutely terrified of taking the lid off the pressure cooker, because something in me knew that there was something primal and like animalistic inside of me. And I knew it had a voice, and I knew that the voice would be a very ugly kind of roar, yell, noise. I like intuitively knew it. But I was given a safe space. I was given a room with people holding space in the room for the group of us that were all about to release our anger. And I was absolutely terrified. And I genuinely believed that I genuinely believed I couldn't survive the emotion that would get released, because I'd repressed years and years and years of trauma and upset and things, And turns out you can survive it. Turns out it's the most liberating, wonderful thing you could ever do, is to make the noise and go primal. I mean, at the end, my hands were cut and bleeding because I had a baseball bat and I was bashing and screaming, and it was a whole thing. It was a catharsis therapy, which I went on to train in, and then I can take my clients through that now myself. It's game changing. And it's only when we give ourselves safe space to lift the lid and let the buildup out that we can then start to find some balance and learn tools to let anger out as and when it's needed in a safe environment. But, first of all, we have to experience that it can be safe to be angry. And we have to create that container for ourselves. So usually, like, if from what the sense I'm getting with Hester, like, it would probably do her the world of good to go to some sort of therapeutic space, but not one of those rage rooms. I mean, yes, go to a rage room and smash it up. That's great. And what we're talking about here, though, is rage that needs to be released with deep intention and with real reverence, and that you're held safe. So really top expert loving support around you might be needed. I don't know Hester, I don't know her situation. It really, this is a personal responsibility piece. If you're going to release emotion like this, what do you sense that you need to hold you through it? Or are you okay to do it on your own at home? And again, in my book, I talk through some ideas and ways of setting that up for yourself so that you can do that. But yeah, we got to take the lid off and let it all out. And, you know, in taking the lid off, there's some preparation required to bring you to a place to be able to release. So you're probably going to be needing to, you know, follow some guidance around perhaps writing an angry letter of all the things over all the years that have hurt you and upset you, so that you're intentionally clear on what you are releasing. So when I run emotional release sessions with groups, which I have done in the past, I've done many of them, I take them through a whole process. And often, if I'm thinking right back, I would have been running a group coaching program and we'd be working up to it. And then on the actual day that we all come together, I take them through a very careful process of connecting to what they need to release and holding the space with help. I bring in other people and we hold the space so that they can let it go. But yeah, I have a sense that might be required before you get to some sort of balance and then managing anger on a day-to-day basis. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, my loves, let me answer the final question of the week, which came from lovely Emma. In regards to ongoing growth, learning, and embracing my vision, what do you do when you feel stuck or lost? How do you keep on your path? And I think, as a roundup question, don't you think that's a nice one? Why do we have to think that just because I'm stuck or lost, that something's wrong with our path and the direction that we're taking? What if we could just trust that we are exactly where we're meant to be? And so the first thing I would suggest is to stop forcing your path forward or stop forcing things to be different, and instead start listening inwards. So taking the pressure off having to figure it all out. And then, as we've been talking about so much this week, the feminine, dropping into your body. Drop into the feminine, because it's when we're stuck or lost or freaking out or asking, how do I get back on my path? We're up in our masculine. So when you notice yourself doing that, when you notice your energy is up high, drop down into the feminine, drop down into your body, go for a walk in nature, breathe, journal your thoughts out so that you can drop into your body, right? So you want to kind of bring yourself back into presence in the feminine, because then we can come to a place of more stillness. We're not striving, we're not trying to figure out. And it's in the stillness and in that connection to ourselves, that remembering, that the next step on our path gets revealed. So if everything was okay and I could drop into my body, it will be revealed. I would then also ask myself what's true now. So instead of kind of trying to figure out my big vision or focusing on feeling stuck, I would actually course correct my thoughts into the kind of what feels true for me right here, right now. Like, what feels alive for me in my body right here, right now. My brain is trying to figure stuff out that I don't have answers to. What's true today for me? So it's just really coming back home to you and your body. And then really returning to those feminine practices of meditation, breath work, affirmations, like using them as anchors. So really coming back to your guidance, your knowing is from your inner authority, your inner truth, like really coming back to that. I suppose I should just say something about positive self-talk as well. I mean, we had done some work on affirmations, and I think I did put in the training video that I shared around that, affirmations aren't the only way. Like, affirmations aren't the route to healing. The route to healing is your inner work, but the affirmations are a tool to remind you to come back to yourself, to remind you of what's true, but they aren't the solution. That would be like putting a band-aid over a shark bite, right? An affirmation doesn't work like that. For the shark bite, you have to perhaps have surgery. And for us, with our healing work, we might need some spiritual surgery, right? But we need to go in deep, do our inner work. And then the affirmation is the band-aid we pop over the wound as we're healing. And it reminds us of our truth. It reminds us of our strength, of our power, of what's true when we forget. And then always asking for support. You don't remember, I think, was it yesterday or the day before, I was saying that you are not the source of everything. Actually, source, the divine, is the source. And surrender. Like, I don't have all the answers. One of the most freeing things that happened for me this year in a coaching session that I received from a healer, it was actually more a healing session than a coaching session, was this. I received a deeper understanding that I don't have all the answers, and that's okay. And I'm a 1 on the Enneagram, which is perfectionist. So that's my shadow is like, I have to always have all the answers. And if I don't, then I'm imperfect, and then I'm not good enough, blah, 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 blah. And it's all bullshit, right? But if I accept that I don't know everything, I found it so freeing to realize that. Like, it sounds like a negative affirmation. It doesn't sound like a true positive affirmation, especially the way I teach affirmations. But my affirmation was, I don't have all the answers. And for me, that might not be for you, but for me, that was very empowering, because my disempowered masculine was always telling me, you should know. And if you don't know, if you don't have the solution, if you don't know the way out, if you don't know, there's something wrong with you. And that's just not true. I am not an expert in everything. I know what I know. And there's most things I don't know. So you call for help, you ask for help, you reach out to your mentors, you ask your sisters, you reach into your neighborhood community, you reach into your coaching community. And you could do that for answers, but sometimes when it comes to your life path, it's just to be witnessed. And that's why coaching containers like this, we get some answers, but also we get witnessed. And in the witnessing, so much gets healed and revealed. And that wraps up the 5 days of Q&A from Awakened and Aligned. I hope that you received something truly valuable from all of those really vulnerable, honest, courageous questions. If anything came up for you and you feel like maybe you would like some support on your own journey, then perhaps take a look at what I've got on offer. Have a look over on my website, daringandmighty.com. And again, if there's anything here that you feel will help any of your girlfriends, please do share this episode with them. Please don't forget to rate and review this episode. And I can't wait to see you on the next episode of the Daring and Mighty podcast.